Vanya was jolted from her comatose state by the turbulent atmospheric entry of the shuddering scatterpod. The fog, which had, until moments ago, deadened her higher brain functions from the catastrophic effects of the malady, continued to cloud her mind, with every single thought feeling like sand slipping through her fingers. The pod quaked and convulsed under the changing pressure of the planet's atmosphere. Vanya desperately clung to her flight seat harness. It was an almost vicious experience that took all of Vanya's strength to buffer herself against the tumultuous onslaught. Vanya attempted to focus on the small viewport before her and was soon distracted by dancing flames of the pod's ablative shielding, licking at the exterior. Yet as the flames subsided, she caught her first glimpse of the world that would be a new home, Ozovin. Everything she could see were cast in vibrant shades of blue, with clear azure skies and deep cerulean waters. It was a vista unlike anything she had witnessed in the confines of Bridgehead Station. The pod's free fall continued to aggressively heave Vanya's body back and forth in her flight seat. The viewport, which doubled as a personal HUD, tracked the pod's rapid loss in altitude, and after what felt like only moments of descent, they were a mere 5,000 feet from the watery surface below. Vanya was shocked by the suddenness appearance of a hand reaching over to her from the right. It was Niels. They had been buddies for the journey so far, having been issued sequential passenger numbers back on Bridgehead Station. He was older than her, in his late 30s, from Sweden, with a tall stature and angular Nordic features. Yet, even in this moment of mutual terror, Vanya couldn't deny Niels was attractive and charming, and seemed genuine in his unspoken overtures as to her well-being. Vanya had noted back on Bridgehead Station, many of the single passengers had begun to pair up. For a young woman in her early 20s, the reality of life tame in a virgin world and her responsibility to repopulate the human race out across the stars had been drilled into her by the URA colony attendants pre-launch. She understood what that meant, and that it was best for her to take a partner sooner rather than later. So Vanya had tacitly accepted Niels as her partner in waiting, staying by his side for much of the orientation. So she grasped his hand and squeezed back, appreciative of his mutual support in this moment of angst and peril. It was then that the thunderous creaking of the pod's groaning freefall gave way to the whirring reinitialization of the pod's anti-gravity field. The weightlessness of descent began to pass with the sudden reassertion of gravity as the pod slowed to a more manageable pace. Vanya watched on as the sapphire blue of Ozovin's vast global ocean came to dominate the viewport as the altitude on the display reached 0. With a final jolt in her seat, the pod splashed into the deep waters of the world. The licks of fire that had moments earlier caressed the viewport window, replaced with comparatively playful splashes of ocean water. The pod bobbed in the waters for several moments post-landing before vast composite rings around the base of the cylindrical structure spontaneously inflated, stabilizing the pod above the waterline. Vanya felt a palpable tension build among the passengers as they sat and waited impatiently in the seats. Countless nano-sized sensor arrays had been deployed upon Splashdown and were already undertaking a rapid battery of tests of the atmosphere and water to corroborate the previous automated survey findings as to the planet's habitability. Ozovin was known for having a prodigious aquatic biosphere with biomarkers such as dimethyl sulfide, or DMS, well above averages on Lost Earth even before the war and the impact. But this was an untouched alien world. So the risk of finding something, anything, that was utterly and catastrophically fatal to humans was a definite possibility. Yet, after approximately 15 minutes, the initial in situ readings from the tests appeared on the viewport HUDs, and high levels of planetary habitability was confirmed. A collective cheer roared from the passengers, as it meant that they could live outside in the fresh air of the world, beyond the confines of habitats and personal rebreathers. With the habitability confirmed, the spontaneous revelry of the passengers gave way to a collective guffaw of wonderment as the outer hull of the pod split into 8 even parts and began to open like a flower, lowering down to the surface of the water. Vanya squinted at the suddenness of the bright sunlight bathing her with its brilliance. It was so intense the first time she had seen natural light, and it was overwhelming. Yet, as her sight adjusted, she was overcome with a sight her mind could barely comprehend. Having spent a lifetime in the confines of Bridgehead Station, the horizon. In every direction she saw nothing but an endless ocean, a rippling fabric of navy waters that extended as to the very edge of the world. And she drank in the enormity of the open and expansive sky, the light blue canvas punctuated only by pillowy white clouds. Vanya could not help but cry in amazement at the awe-inspiring sights of this new world. Her ruminations was disturbed, however, as the concentric rows of stacked seating of the passenger module began to move. Giant mechanical arms that were moments early folded tightly in the center of the pod extended out to grasp and lift rows of seats out and down onto the bloomed hull segments, which now formed an expansive platform at least 1,000 feet across. With excitement buzzing inside her with the promise of a new life, she felt one final bump as her seating row was placed down on the platform by the arm. She had arrived. URA colony attendants assigned to this mission helped passengers remove the straps of the flight harnesses and disembark from their seat. As Vanya stood, her legs weary, she noticed Niels's towering frame lean down to help her, a smile on his face as she took first steps on a new world. The attendant that had released her from her seat then spoke, referring to a handheld display as he did. "Please confirm your identity. Ramirez Vanya. Unaccompanied single female. Passenger 422. Vanya paused for a moment, looking from the attendant up to Niels, now standing beside her. She considered her next step, what it would mean for her life and her future. It was a bold move to be sure, but she was confident it was the right one, that Niels was the right man. So she took the initiative and slid her hand into his, this time not out of fear but in hope, for love and for the future. And with a warm, affirming smile adorning Niels's face and a wordless nod, she turned back to the attendant and spoke. "Identity confirmed, but update relationship status. New status, married."